It first starts, I think, with the bluff that you just think you can do it. And then you need to like convince one or two people that you can. Then you get your first show and then like you're good to go.
That's Julien Jukema, founder of Anywyse.audio, a tool that allows you to transform any text into a complete audio learning experience. It is used at a number of universities. It's backed by science and boosts productivity by making on-the-go learning more convenient and time efficient. But before Julien started Anywyse, he did a number of cool things like owning a secondhand fashion store where he gave 30% of the profits to a cancer foundation. And he was the co-initiator of Nederland Bedankt, a project where every week they recognize 3 individuals in the Netherlands who made a remarkable impact during the corona crisis. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode as you listen. You can find me on LinkedIn at Eric Melcher. Tag me, say hello, let me know that you're listening. And now let's talk with Julien. Hey, Julien, welcome to Innovators Can Laugh. How you doing today?
Thank you. Doing very well. What about you?
I'm all right. First question for you, Julien. What are 1 or 2 interesting things about you that most people don't know?
Ooh, good question. I think that probably a lot of people don't know that I grew up in a very, very, very small village somewhere in the countryside in the Netherlands. Needed to bike to school, front and back every day, 25 kilometers.
25 kilometers?
Yeah. It was a good workout. And that in high school, it was a bit of a misfit. So I needed to get out of like the normal program and did all kinds of different levels and ended up at the University of Amsterdam. But it took me like 6 years where normal people like take 2. So that's also something which is not that familiar, I think.
Did you fail chemistry? Because I failed chemistry at university. I had to take the class 3 times in order to pass it.
I had it with mathematics. It was horrible. Like always the same. Like I did a million trainings to get like mathematics in.
Yeah.
And then finally worked well enough.
Yeah. My toughest class was calculus for mathematics. And I still remember the formula. Oh God, I forgot it. The quadratic formula. I still remember it by heart. Never used it once in my life. Never.
Well, that brings open a discussion on the educational system, right? But that's a long one.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a separate discussion, right? The things that we need to learn and pass in order to get a diploma or whatever. And much time, many hours are wasted on doing those things that you never really get to apply in your real life whatsoever. But enough about that. There was something that I read. Your mom called you the best moderator in the world. That's right, the best moderator in the world. So before we jump into Anywyse, I just want to hear, how did you get started being a moderator and what was that experience like, Julien?
Basically, like all the things I've started, it first starts, I think, with the bluff that you just think you can do it. And then you need to like convince 1 or 2 people that you can, then you get your first show and then like you're good to go. Also, my mother would call me everything in the world to make me feel good. So I don't know if it's like a very objective point of reference, but no, with the moderating, actually, I really wanted to do it and I never really knew how to get started. So a friend of mine was organized like a pitch competition for the University of Amsterdam and he was looking for someone. I said like, I can do this. And he wanted to pay me like 200 euros for half an hour. I was like, what? So I remember walking home like going crazy. I was like, is this real? That was like huge back then. And that's how it started. But I'm not very actively doing it, trying to focus as much as possible on the business.
That's good money for just like a short amount of time.
Yeah, back then it was like crazy. I remember I was like dancing on the street almost because it was just because I really wanted to make it happen, and then it actually happened.
Well, was that one of the first entrepreneurial things you've ever did before, Julien?
No, I wouldn't say so. No, I think so. I started my first company a couple of years before that, which was a sustainable suit business. We picked up suits which our lawyers wouldn't wear anymore, sold them to students, and 30% went to the Cancer Foundation so you could do something good with your old suit, and also people buying them could do something good with their money.
30% is a lot. That's pretty big. I mean, companies over here boasting about we give 1% of our revenue to a good charity, but you're over here doing 30%. Wow.
Yeah. So we worked with law firms, and then I would go in there, get like 100, 200 suits in like plastic bags and take them home again, and then filter them, like the high quality from the low quality, and then wash them, clean them, and sell them again with a tailor next to it.
I read something that the circular economy, when it comes to fashion, is supposed to grow something crazy like $300 billion to $600 billion within the next 3 or 4 years. So there's still a lot of demand for it. It's because the younger generation, they just don't see the value in spending a lot of money on clothes. So that could be a business that you go back to maybe one day.
Well, I saw actually someone, I was very much, so I started this 5 years ago, something like that, right? 6 years maybe. And then but it was an operational hassle because you have these suits in your hands like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times and you only like charge like 100, 150 euros. So it was a lot of work for not a lot of revenue. So it could work, but then you need to like scale it like crazy. And actually, so I very much hoped that someone would like retry it. And then not too long ago, 1 month ago, I was at a conference on ChatGPT and someone actually is doing it again in the Netherlands. So I was like, hey, this is cool. Like, have you tried this? Have you tried this? So I was like, I was his fanboy now. Like, sure it is. Like, because it should be there in the world. Like, it shouldn't be necessary for young people to spend a lot of money on a suit, which is not high quality and maybe made by child labor and all that bullshit. Like, there's a lot of high quality already in the market, which shouldn't go to waste.
Totally agree. Before COVID, I used to wear suits, but after COVID, I just work from home. I haven't put on a suit since 2020, I think.
No, that's crazy, right?
Crazy?
The thing is, you just need to like create some activities for yourself where you can like suit up, like go to the concert, but like concerts or classical concerts a bit more. Like those are always good spots too. Also, you don't really need an excuse though. But I have the same. I also hardly wear suits anymore.
Yeah, go do a marathon or a Tough Mudder or something and stand out from the crowd by wearing one of my nice Reese suits that, they were a lot of money. Now I never wear it anymore. But also I read something that was quite interesting here. And I know I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to botch this, but it was called Nederland Bedankt. Bedankt.
That's actually not that bad of a pronunciation.
Okay. Well, it was just one word, really. I mean, I wasn't going to screw up the Netherlands or the other land. Yeah, but this happened during the Corona crisis. And this was something that every week you recognize 3 individuals who are making a remarkable impact in the community or in the city. And what you guys did for them was that you were hooking them up with nice restaurants. Maybe they got like a free meal at a really Michelin star restaurant or stay at a 4 or 5 hotel star experience. Just kind of give them a special experience. I have never heard of anything like this, Julien. Where did you come up with the idea for this? And what was the inspiration?
Yeah, good question. So we started with the 2 of us, with Danya, fantastic person, but she and I were both very frustrated about the fact that beginning of COVID was a lot of positive, like people helping each other. And after the first month, there was basically only negative news. Although you had people working their asses off day in, day out to keep the country running. So it was extremely frustrating to see that although all this bad stuff happened, like people in the hospitals, like with that you couldn't go on the streets and stuff like that. And that we wouldn't learn from the people who did good stuff for each other. So what we thought is that it would be extremely important to show one person from critical sectors. So like healthcare, people working in elderly care, like people who work to help others day in, day out, to show to them that if you do good, you are seen and rewarded sometimes. So that's why we contacted all the 5-star hotels in the Netherlands to ask if they want to offer a free night's sleep. It was a completely voluntary initiative. And we captured their stories with a team of eventually 62 photographers and journalists and made a book out of it. So now if you open it, you can just see that people like in the darkest, I wouldn't say darkest of time, but like dark times, do good stuff for each other. So it's a very like 48 really, really interesting, cool stories about people who just choose to get out of bed every morning, jump out of bed, put their feet on the ground and think like, okay, I'm going to do something good for another human being.
What was the reception like from the restaurants and hotels? Was it like 50% agreed to this or was it less than that?
Well, it was a bit the same as how everything works, right? Like it's always a domino system, in my opinion. It's always you need to get the first 1 or 2 or 3 on board, which is the hardest always. I also had 12 like famous Dutch people in it just to pump up the marketing value because all the money went to a fund which took care of healthcare workers who were like sick for a long time. So I wanted to get as much money as possible with the book. And actually so we got the first was one very friendly guy at a 5-star hotel. He got us in, hooked us up with 3 nights. And then the most prominent Dutch hotels also it's like who stood behind the initiative. Like I called them a million times, right? Don't get me wrong. Like I emailed them, called them. I think I've called every hotel in the Netherlands at least. But at the end, we ended up with even like more nights than we could give away.
Okay. This is really cool. Now, when you say book, you mean like a physical book, not a digital book, a physical book?
No, it's a physical book. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's cool stories, 48 stories, 12 stories, 12 views from like more well-known people, and all kinds of empty city photos, which you now find very weird, like Amsterdam from the sky with complete like museum squares, for example, very busy square, like no one there, like all these very characteristic photos for that time period, or also like those photographers also donated them for free. So it became like I hope just a little spark that if another crisis hits, that we know like, okay, people will do good. We can trust each other.
Yeah. And when you contacted these people to let them know that they were the recipient of like a free, hotel stay or, Michelin star dinner, what were some of their responses like?
We had people crying on the phone because we asked, like, we went to the radio station, said like, hey, we want to like ask people to nominate a person in their environment, right? So people so you could like nominate someone else. Then we had like a couple of people checking like all the nominations, and then we would determine like, okay, this is a story which should be seen. And literally people crying because they didn't expect it whatsoever. For example, people working with people like with a large, like a disability home, or people with a disability, like they were like struggling so much during the crisis. And then like one afternoon they got this phone call like, hey, we appreciate what you do, and you can stay there chill there for the weekend and relax and recharge. And we're like, great. Yeah. I still get goosebumps when I tell this. It was a really cool project. I actually have the book. Yeah.
That is so cool.
I know it's a podcast, but you can see it. Huh?
That is so cool, man. Really, really cool. Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. And so the public that got to decide, they would just go to a website and they would just, cast the name of the person, and that's how, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so it was really a book from everyone for everyone.
That's fascinating. Fascinating. Okay. Well, let's jump into Anywyse. So Anywyse, why don't you tell us what it is and how that got started? What was the inspiration for that, Julien?
So good question. Anywyse, I think got started also about 4 years ago. Well, the inspiration for it. After during the founding of my first two companies, so like the suit company, I also became sick. Due to cancer, I needed to undergo chemotherapy and operation.
What kind of cancer?
Testicle cancer.
Okay.
You need to do operations as soon as like immediately next day to stop it from spreading, and then chemotherapy to stop it, to detain it further, which ended up fine. Like,
were there any symptoms that were happening? Like, how did you discover it, or how did you know?
Well, yeah, different. Not that apparently, but at one point I just felt like something was off, like with a big tumor, basically, which I could just see. And then, but it was such a far from your bed show, right? Like it's so far away, like people having cancer, so you don't think that it's you. But I went to the doctors, and then they sent me to the hospital straight away, and then into surgery straight away as well. But so that's how long, well, I will do it chronologically, but so I lost my ability to read temporarily due to the chemotherapy.
Really? That's one of the side effects that can happen?
If you also it's maybe good, like, did you know that if chemotherapy like drops on the floor in the hospital, the firemen need to come to like clean it up because it's such a chemical crazy stuff, and that they actually, like, if it hits the floor, like just laying on the floor, like normal people like need to stay away as far as possible, and people in suits need to like come and not like the nice suits we just spoke about, but like yeah. But so it's such a crazy material which makes you live. That's also interesting, but yeah, it can happen. And yeah.
It looks like you're recovering well, but during this time you said you couldn't read. And how long was that going on where you were having trouble reading?
And so imagine like I was reading, I love reading, right? So I couldn't do anything. So I was just recovering on the couch at my mother's because I also couldn't really walk because of the surgeries again. And then I could read like one or two sentences, and I just couldn't remember anything. So I would try again and try again and try again and try again. And I just was like the information was gone. So you read something and immediately lose it. Also, my memory itself was very bad. So we could have this conversation. I could probably tell you 3 times the same thing, and I wouldn't know, which was very strange as well, because you also doubt if it will ever become normal again, which now is the case. So that took a while. I think throughout the entire period, basically. The reading became better, but like the memory stayed very bad.
Okay.
But it also like eventually led me towards other means of studying, and also let me, I remember one time when I was better and I was in London, I was going on a train, and I was already like with all the reading was still like not the easiest. And then I started looking for a podcast on my study topics, and I found a couple because I did European studies. So it was a lot of history topics, but they were all very long and boring and not engaging. And then I thought like, well, what would happen if we would make this very effective? So like short, bite-sized on my study curriculum. Like I would love this stuff. So that's how Anywyse eventually got born. Like 2 years ago, I started executing on that by turning, basically if you have like 12 topics you need to know for an exam, we will create 12 mini learning podcasts. So your study topics explained via didactic way. So you actually remember what you listened to within 10 to 15 minutes. So you can just take a walk and then learn for your exam.
Yeah, no, I was on the website earlier and I heard one of the examples, and I was also shocked to see, or surprised to see, that people with dyslexia, they have a hard time learning when it comes to like books or looking at a computer screen. And this, for people with dyslexia, this is an alternative to really, just learn better. And so I thought, I'm a big podcast lover. My wife loves podcasts. I'll see her, she'll be cooking and she's got her earpods on, or I'll go out for a walk or take the kids to school. And on the way back, I'm listening to a podcast myself. And so I'm a big fan of podcasting. And so what you're saying, that why not, hey, turn this material that you've created and make it sort of like bite-sized 10 to 15 minutes in audio form. And that way your listeners or your audience can learn whatever it is that you're trying to teach. And how does it work if somebody goes to the website and is considering this and using this? Like, how would that work, Julien?
Well, so we're just opening up actually the option for you as an individual to just turn your written content immediately into audio bites. For now we're working with colleges, universities, high schools, but also educational publishers who use our tool like internally. So for example, at a college, the teacher would take some learning materials, like written sources, upload them. The first thing which our technology does is that it rewrites it into a didactic script, but also auditive. So it sounds well. That's the difference between reading and like a written text is mostly not made to sound well.
Yeah.
And then it's immediately structured within the script, which takes care of repetitions, clear intros, clear outros, clear examples, so that the topics you listen to actually stick on the brain. And then it's turned text to speech straight away. So it can be with your own voice. Then we need your voice for 30 seconds and then you can use it for the rest of the fragments. You can also just pick a standard voice, like very deep.
So you can use your own voice up there. You just upload your own voice or speak into a microphone?
Yeah. For 30 seconds, 30.
All right. I like it. Okay. Now, are there better ways to learn too? I think I was looking at some of your posts on LinkedIn, and there was one about a study or something that you actually learn better when you're walking. Do you recall that?
Yeah. So your neurons make more connections when you're walking. Then that's also why everyone always says like, I have better conversations when you're walking. Like that's very true because you actually think better when you're walking. But it's also interesting on the dyslexia part, which you touched upon briefly, like it's 8% in the world, right? So it's not like a few people who have trouble reading. And then the strange thing is that our whole educational system is built upon how well you read. Although we've only been reading for like a couple of 100 years, like whole society. So within a couple of 100 years, like reading has become our main source of gaining knowledge. And if you can't read that well, then you also can't learn that well. And you also can't perform that well. Yeah. It's just completely stupid. So that's what we're trying to turn around.
All right. Well, this is exciting. What are you excited about in the next 12 months for Anywyse?
Cool. So we're starting off like large collaborations with large educational publishers. So this is, I think, one of the ways for us to really like get to the market very quickly because they already serve millions of people and they can just add it next to their books or to their online environment. So this way we're on a goal to help 100 million people learn better in 2030. And by this way, we can really like gain scale fast. For us, it's just like, we want to see faces who are now struggling behind their computers in the evening or like in the afternoon, like being bored or like stressed. Like we want to switch them towards people sitting outside in the sun. And for us, the next 12 months is to find the fastest channel partners to achieve that.
Okay. And since launching Anywyse, what is one of the one or two top obstacles that you've had to overcome?
Couple of them. So we switched business models. So we were B2C. So, or maybe consumer to consumer. So we were a marketplace. So a senior student would create it and sell it to a junior year. Did that for a year. It was very challenging marketing wise. And so we switched that towards B2B. So that pivot was difficult. We also needed to raise a new round within the pivot, which is also always not like a big recommendation to pivot while fundraising or the other way around. And well, at the beginning, I had a co-founder who quit like about 1 year ago with like, when we were fundraising our first round. So it was all like, it hasn't always been very easy, but it's going very well right now.
Okay. All right. Well, now it's the rapid fire section of the podcast here. So just give me the first answer that comes to your head. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Number one strategy to prioritize your time, Julien.
Horrible things first, and then work them towards like the most horrible, towards the best, the most you like.
A favorite TV show that you can watch again and again.
Game of Thrones, easily.
And the most interesting thing you did in the last 26 days.
I walked in a part of Santiago de Compostela.
A part of where?
Santiago de Compostela. It's a pilgrim route in the north of Spain.
All right. An unusual food or drink you consume.
Unusual food or drink. I do a lot of, I started to drink more kombucha. It's very stereotypical, but it's also it's very healthy as well. But in general, I eat very, very healthy, I would say. It's not that unusual. It's just a lot of vitamins.
Okay. All right. And last question for you. Instead of stock options and bonuses for new employees, you now give your new hires blank.
Oh, to really determine what they want to do themselves. That's the most important. If you like something, you're good at it, and you grow in it. Or 10 connections to people they would love to get to know, to learn from, and then make those connections happen.
That is a good answer. That's such a good answer. Oh my God, being able to connect them with people that can uplift their lives. I've never heard of such an answer like that. That's a really good one, Julien.
I also just thought about it for the first time. Thanks.
Okay. Julien, thank you so much for being on Innovators Can Laugh.
Thank you very much. Wonderful time. Thanks.
Yeah, for everybody listening, we'll be back next week with another Dutch entrepreneur. Until then, this is Eric signing off. Thank you.